Yes, welcome everyone once again to Cannabis News with Joe Klare, September 25th, 2018, presented as always by the Marijuana Times. Click that video tab at marijuanatimes.org to find the show. Also, a bunch of great articles there. Social media links and more, marijuanatimes.org. Today we're talking about marijuana use on the rise among older Americans. Also, delays and regulation hurdles and all kinds of problems with licensing marijuana businesses in Alaska. We'll talk about that. Also, marijuana arrests are on the rise nationwide in the era of legalization. We'll talk about all that coming up. But first, of course, Cannabis News is brought to you by NatureSide, nature-side.com. Site is spelled C-I-D-E. Check out their organic, all-natural pesticides. Don't use harmful chemicals on what you are growing. Grow safe and poison-free. You can do that with NatureSide. They are a proud sponsor of the show. Be regulatory compliant. Don't use harmful chemicals. Check out NatureSide, nature-side.com. Again, as I said, side spelled C-I-D-E. This first story by yours truly over marijuanatimes.org. Marijuana use by older Americans now outpaces teen use. Yes, that's right. Americans aged 55 to 64, when asked if they used marijuana in the past month, 6.7% said yes. You go to the age group of 12 to 17. That number, which used to be almost 8%, is now down to 6.5%. Even those over 65 years of age, a number that 16 years ago was almost zero, now is at 2.4%. The fastest growing demographics when it comes to marijuana use are obviously those over the age of 55. And the only age group that has been declining since legalization has started to spread, especially recreational legalization has started to spread across the country, is the 12 to 17 age group. The age group that everybody, prohibitionists included, claim that they care about. Well, the use among that group is going down. And yet, you'll see some prohibitionists spin that as somehow being a bad thing. What about the children? What about the children? So anyway, legalization is allowing, as I mentioned in the article, legalization is allowing people to make their own decisions, and adults should always be able to make their own decisions when it comes to stuff like this. Things that don't infringe on the rights of anyone else should be up to the person to decide, and they're finally getting to make that decision. And more, especially older Americans, are making a decision that, they want to partake a little bit of some marijuana for recreational or medical purposes, whatever. It doesn't matter because it shouldn't matter. This next story from ADN.com, Anchorage Daily News. License delays amid enforcement issues irritate Alaska marijuana entrepreneurs. They're irritated. 2 years after the state's first cannabis entrepreneurs received their licenses, business owners are still wrestling with hang-ups in the regulatory system. Long waits for licenses, complex enforcement questions, and expensive requirements are common in Alaska's cannabis business, frustrating some entrepreneurs. For some, it boils down to what they consider unreasonable obstacles to commerce and wasn't what they pictured when Proposition 2 passed in 2014 to legalize recreational cannabis. As of August 15th of this year, about 80 would-be licensees were waiting on review through the State Alcohol and Marijuana Control Office. Apparently it's all under one umbrella now, and they're stretched thin, which is leading to a lot of these regulatory delays. State statutes say they should be granted, their review should be granted within about 90 days. Most of them will likely be waiting 3 to 5 months to even be reviewed, according to a director's report from AMCO Director Erica McConnell to the Marijuana Control Board for its upcoming October 16th meeting. A lot of these entrepreneurs, they had to have spaces rented to be eligible to get their licenses. These spaces have been staying open for months, empty for months rather, with these entrepreneurs having to pay rent on a space they're not even using, which is incredibly expensive. But, these stories, I do these stories all the time. Regulatory problems, restrictions, state governments, local jurisdictions, the federal government. That's always where the problem seems to stem from. It never stems from all. There's just too many weed shops. There's too many jobs. There's too much activity. We just can't have all this stuff. It's always delays and hang-ups and problems, and it's always a result of some level of government. And here you see it again in Alaska. And they'll say, we don't have the budget, and we don't have enough people. Well, now you're covering alcohol and marijuana. First of all, maybe that's not a good thing to do. Maybe you should have separate entities for each if this is what you're really trying to do. You're trying to regulate this product. with the government. But no delays. That's what you're going to have. Delays. Spend a bunch of money on spaces, pay rent. We'll get you reviewed. Oh, it'll come along sometime. It's supposed to be 90 days. Could be 5 months. You're just going to have to deal with it because where are they going to go? The other state government in Alaska? Say, oh, well, I'm done with you guys. I'm going to go to the other state government in Alaska and see what they have to say and see if they can get it done a little quicker. No recourse. They have to wait or get out of business, which is not exactly a great choice. This last story from Forbes.com from Tom Angel. Marijuana arrests are increasing despite legalization, new FBI data shows. Marijuana arrests are rising in the U.S. even as more states legalize cannabis. There's now an average of one marijuana bust roughly every 48 seconds, according to new data from the FBI. About 659,700 people were arrested in 2017 compared to about 653,000 in 2016. Most of those are for possessing marijuana as opposed to selling it or growing it. Selling it and growing it numbers of arrests are actually going down, while possession numbers and possession arrest numbers go up. So that is where things are being focused. Even as more states legalize recreational marijuana every 48 seconds. And I know there's really no way to make this opinion fresh, but there really doesn't need to be. The opinion that cops should be doing other things. They're wasting so much time arresting people with plant matter in their pocket. Again, I know that's a well-worn area of debate, and all of us activists agree, and most people listening to this agree. And instead, as I said, there's no way to make that point of view that fresh, to make it fresh, make it a hot take, to make that take hot. There's no way to do that. It is what it is. It's an utter waste of time. The police officer is arresting someone for marijuana every 48 seconds. And the vast majority of those are just for simple possession. And you say, oh, well, they don't spend much time in jail and they don't go to prison and so on and so forth. A cop who's supposed to be serving and protecting the citizens of the United States is focusing his attention on someone who has a plant in their pocket. Someone who has a plant in their pocket. And however far that goes in the justice system is too far. It shouldn't have began in the first place. Oh, you have a plant in your pocket? Okay, go about your day. I'm going to go about mine. Violent crime going on somewhere. I'm a police officer. There's violent crime somewhere. Somebody's being robbed or raped or murdered. Their property is being destroyed, stolen. Their house is being broken into. I don't know. You have a plant in your pocket. I'm going to worry about that. It's just enough already. And the fact that arrests continue to go up shows that, well, we still have a long way to go. And that's why we do this show. That's why I do this show 5 days a week. We still have a long way to go. So thank you for checking out Cannabis News. Thank you to Nature Side for being a proud sponsor of the show. Search us, The Marijuana Times, on Apple Podcasts for the audio-only version of the show. You can also find the videos, again, at marijuanatimes.org. You can also search The Marijuana Times on YouTube and Vimeo. Go do all of that stuff and keep spreading the truth about cannabis with this show. Thank you for listening and watching, and we'll see you next time right here on Cannabis News.